at least while the kids out playing, can we get the drugs back for a while? Can we do something that can have an impact? So first of all, you have to vocalize. But the second thing that comes with a burden from God is you call for some things to be forsaken. Oh Lord, if you have a burden from God that does not call for the forsaking of some stuff, let me tell you, it didn't come from God. Because God's burdens cause us to forsake some things. Well, how do you know that? Because is not Jesus our primary example? Did not he forsake his place in heaven to come wrap down in human flesh and give his life for us? He forsook, he gave up his spot to sit next to the Father to come down here in a sin-sick world that we could have life. He forsook some stuff. And if you're going to have a burden from God, you've got to forsake. Nehemiah gave up his lofty cupbearer position. He said, I'm going to stop eating food prepared for you and go to cooking for myself. Because why? I'm burdened by something. And see, what must you abandon to fulfill your God's burden on your heart? You got to forsake some time, forsake some goals, forsake some possessions. Preach, man. Forsake some time, some goals, and some possessions. If you really have a burden for the things of God, you've got to give up some personal stuff. And if you're unwilling to forsake, then you're unwilling to move with the burden. So, first of all, we have to vocalize. Second of all, we have to forsake. Thirdly, when Nehemiah finally gets to Jerusalem, he takes time to inspect. See, you cannot operate or fulfill your burden if you don't take some time to inspect what you're going to work on. The worst problem is when somebody thinks they have the answer for a troubling group and they want to come bring them the answer instead of helping the troubled people find an answer for themselves. He inspects the condition of Jerusalem. You cannot fulfill the burden unless you first take time to research and do some planning. Lord have mercy. He surveys the walls at night. He avoids letting everybody know what he's doing until he has done his due diligence of research. He says, why? Because I can't let people get in my head. I can't let people get beside what I'm trying to do. I'm going to hold some stuff to myself until I know what needs to be done. And when he inspects, he gains perspective. And the perspective he gains enables him to adequately plan. If you're going to respond to a burden, you have to have good research and adequate planning. Oh God. Well, let's drop off the God burden. Let's talk about your burden that you want to do something about for yourself. Because if you bring it to a selfish point, you'll catch it and we can apply it to a larger scale. You want to get in better shape. You want to lose a few pounds. Lord have mercy. And you come to the end of the year getting ready to make your biblical mandate, because you don't want to call them New Year's resolutions, your biblical proclamation or whatever you want to call it. And so you decide it's time to find out the best gym to go become a member of, and do my research upon what treadmill to buy and what elliptical trainer to purchase. Y'all not talking. And so you decide, I'm going to do curves, I'm going to do Weight Watchers, I'm going to do Nutrisystem, I'm going to do something to take off the pound and get myself in shape. But if you don't have a real plan, you will get into it and not see the results you want, and Lord have mercy, and you will bail before anything takes place. Oh, yes, you will. You'll sit up there and be like, Lord, my back hurt. Lord, the trainer tried to kill me. I told him I ain't worked out in 12 years. I'm old now. I told him I can't do all that. And he tried to kill me. Well, but the issue is he's trying to get you to a point where what you said you were about, you can actually see it begin to manifest in front of you. And too many times we have had problems because we don't take time to adequately inspect, plan, research, and plan for what we say we are moved to actually do. So Nehemiah takes some time after he vocalizes, after he has forsaken his lofty position, after he didn't take some time to inspect the walls, but then fourthly, he takes some time to share. He shares the burden with somebody else. He shares the burden with those who can assist, and he shares with those who are invested and those who can benefit. Now, why is this important? Because every person that wants to operate off of a burden from God realizes I can't do it by myself. I need somebody to help me get this thing done. And because I need somebody to help me, I have to find who can I share this burden with. And that's why Habakkuk says, write the vision and make it plain, that he that reads it may run. The text says that if you have a real burden from God and you've done adequate inspection, research, and planning, when you finally drop it on somebody else, it's going to move them to do something as well. Well, some of us, that's where we find some of our worst struggles, because I've never seen, oh Lord, help me, Jesus, to walk through this tough part. I've never seen so many people who claim, oh, I just got a burden for these children. My heart goes out to kids, but we can't get you to work with YTF, Youth Task Force, and we can't get you to volunteer with Children's Church. Lord, it amazes me. Folk talking about I have a burden to clean up the streets, but you won't go out of your house except to go to work. How is this? Because if you have a burden for souls, like I hear so often, I got a burden for souls, but BB&T can't find a good time to meet your schedule for you to go witness. Lord, help me to talk. But we say we have a burden. My burden is for souls. I want to see folk come to know Jesus, but I've not witnessed since. I've not witnessed. I've not gone out to share my faith with anybody, but I claim I am burdened. Well, if you've got a real burden, you're going to vocalize it. You're going to forsake some stuff. You're going to inspect some things, but also you are going to share. And Nehemiah begins to tell the people, look, y'all, our hometown has been run down. Nehemiah says this place has been torn up. We got some problems. The walls have been broken down. The gates have been burned with fire. And what we knew as home now looks destroyed. And Nehemiah says, we got to do something about this problem. Now, what stands out to me so much here is he's talking to people who are already living in the place. But it took somebody who got a burden away. Lord, somebody help me. It took somebody who had a burden from another place to forsake their place, to go back and say, I'm going to help rally us. He said, look at the place in which we live. He said, look, it's not me against you. It's us. We're in this thing together. Lord have mercy. I don't have a son, but I got to see some good men raised up to marry my 4 girls. So I got to be concerned about raising, y'all not talking to me, raising up some good black men. Y'all not. Lord have mercy. Maybe my kids don't go to a low performing school, but I've got to be concerned that it's our educational system. It's our community. We all are invested in this reality. And so Nehemiah says we all have this problem. He says we all are struggling with this. This is impacting all of us. We all have this problem. You see the distress that we are in. He said, Jerusalem lies in waste and the gates are burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Nehemiah says, I can't do this thing by myself. I need somebody that recognizes you've been afforded a chance to make a lasting impact that will transform